I'm going to be honest, I'm really stressed out. Not about them censoring me and all the lies. It's that the country is in deep trouble. It's coming back from the dead, but they're trying to throw the president out. They're preparing false flags. Trump's got to move against Sessions. You've got this evil pope that Leo Zagami predicted 5 years before he was pope would be pope, that used pedophilia to blackmail him in. I've been to Rome, met with Zagami. Zagami has been up, working at the highest levels with Berlusconi and others, and he's really the preeminent expert on this. And the word is, they're saying he may resign any time. He's tried the consolidation of the Catholic Church. He's tried to kick the real Christians and Catholics out. I'm not here to demonize the Catholic Church. It's done a lot of good things and pro-life, pro-family and things. But this new guy is a globalist pope. And so with all of the pedophilia that's come out with all these top people covering it up, I want to talk about what Leo Zagami, joining us from Rome, thinks is about to be breaking next and happening next, because nobody's got their pulse on it like Leo Zagami. Leo Zagami, thanks for coming on.
Hello, Alex. It's good to be back with you, even if in this age of censorship that is clearly manifesting, because they want to shut us down and they don't want us to talk about these things. And one of the main topics, of course, of the moment is Pope Francis and the fact that he knew all along his papacy about Cardinal McCarrick and about many other scandals, but especially the fact that he's now being accused by Vigano, who is a top Vatican figure, who was at the highest levels of the Vatican and who was also the ambassador for the Vatican in Washington for a long time. It's an unprecedented thing that might push really the Pope this time to resign. And we here at InfoWars, as you know, Alex, were the first ones to talk about resignation of the Pope. And now there is also another situation that is unfolding, because they are trying, with pushing pressure, both on Donald J. Trump on your side of the ocean and on Salvini, our interior minister, with this new affair of this ship, the Diciotti ship with these immigrants, that finally yesterday the Vatican basically forced the Italian government to accept. In exchange, they picked up 100 of these immigrants. There were 177 on this ship, illegal immigrants, of course, that are now being taken care by the Pope himself in a place called Rocca di Papa here near Rome. He took 100 of these refugees because, of course, he wants to make the part of the good person against the Interior Minister Salvini, who is instead being indicted, actually. He's being accused of keeping hostage on this ship these immigrants. So now the Pope is coming back from Ireland, where he attended his World Meeting of Families, where he just spent all his time apologizing on the scandals of pedophilia. And after this pedophilia scandals also that came out with the grand jury of Pennsylvania and with this report, which is also totally unprecedented, because we have details about things that are truly shocking about what the clergy did and did not. But Vigano, this figure who is a top figure in the Vatican, who is accusing the Pope, he said that even Donald Wuerl and others in the U.S. Catholic Church knew all along that McCarrick was a pedophile. And actually, Pope Ratzinger himself has already denounced him and had limited, before the arrival of Pope Francis, Cardinal McCarrick, and limited even the places where he could go. He couldn't actually go out of his seminary. So when Pope Francis arrived instead, they reinstalled McCarrick.
Let's be clear, the previous Pope had him on house arrest, but then the new Pope comes in and erases all this. His deputy's been busted, is in a secret trial over hundreds of trafficked boys. Let's get to the bottom line. Do you think the Pope is about to resign, A, and B? Explain to people how these pedophile networks work, because if you're talking 301 priests in Pennsylvania, that's most of the priests admitting they were raping little kids. I mean, that means chances are, if you're looking at 5 Catholic priests, 2 or 3 of them are pedophiles now. And again, it's other major institutions. It's public schools. It's colleges. It's Protestant groups. It's the liberals, the left. If I criticize the LGBTP community, I had the pedophile thing on the end because now NAMBLA is part of that and they promote it. I'm now anti-gay if I say don't have access to kids, don't sexualize kids. I don't care if it's heterosexual, homosexual, don't go into schools and talk about sex with kids when they're 5 years old. I mean, clearly there's an obsession in this global cult with children. Who runs it? Who is it? Because it's all being exposed.
The Vatican has definitely been at the highest level of this global pedophile network that now Donald J. Trump is really busting and fighting in an unprecedented way. So we are happy what is going on because Trump is forcing the Catholic Church in a corner now. And the Pope might even resign. But at the moment, Raymond Burke is very close to Vigano. And both of them, as you know, Cardinal Burke, Raymond Burke, is also very close to Donald J. Trump. So there is a direct involvement here of Trump in this Vatican affair because...
Oh, let's be clear, let's be clear. Clearly, this is a sign of a deep state war that from Brazil to the U.S. to Italy to Australia, they're busting these people. And we said that would happen. That's what my sources said. Trump and others, also patriots in Europe, are moving against this network.
Well, yeah, sure. They are moving against this network. We have even nuns now that got arrested. Even a 93-year-old nun in Scotland is investigated because of molesting children and making them eat their own vomit and participating to satanic rituals with nuns. And this is happening in Scotland just now. So it's not only happening with priests or with cardinals or bishops, it's happening also with nuns. So the Catholic Church is definitely has a problem because it's at the top of this hierarchy of pedophiles. Of course, we have also Anglicans, we have various Protestant churches involved, but the fact is that on top of this pedophile network, we have, of course, the royal families, the elite of the world.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next, because I'm not giving the Catholic Church a pass. As you said, they're at the top of it. It's just that we can't limit it to that. It's this giant subterranean thing that's now being pushed, and and I've studied it. It's a form of psychic vampirism, whereas, you know, it's not just sex with them. Sometimes they kill the children, eat the pituitary, drink the blood after they've been terrified. It goes back to the old Middle Ages and the black magic rituals, the things that were done that we know of. This is really going on.
Yes, and I mean, now it's coming out because also in the grand jury report that was published in Pennsylvania, it's all over the place, the satanic practices of this priest. I mean, to sodomize a child made to kneel down with a 7-inch crucifix, or acting satanic rituals around him where they exchange this child amongst priests. I mean, this is a sick and deviant church. It's actually a satanic church. And so we need
Let's come back and do 5 more minutes, then I promised the calls, but this is the key. Hiding in plain view in the Pennsylvania papers and the indictment is, and then they'd make them read out of the Bible while they had sex with them. Then they do this with crosses, then they do that with blood. They're doing satanic rituals in pentagrams in the church. This is what Satanists do. It's called blasphemy, and the Satanists have taken over the Catholic Church. I want to explain something before we go back to Leo Zagami and then take your phone calls, and I appreciate everybody calling in. I grew up reading a lot of history books just because my parents were into history. My mom had a degree in history, and they didn't let us have a lot of television. And I learned about how ancient cultures operated, and that every ancient culture had child sacrifice at one time or another during their decline periods. And then, once we were getting into politics like 26 years ago, a couple years before I got on air, I would talk to people that have been in military intelligence and wealthy people and you name it, and they'd say, no, at the top, it's all a cult. And I'm like, you know, that's funny. When I went to a few years of high school in Dallas, then I came down here, didn't see any occult stuff. But in Dallas, we lived in the richest county in Texas. And, you know, we were poor folks compared to the billionaires that lived out there. And, man, you'd scratch the paint on something, it'd be a satanic operation or Luciferian sex cult, you name it. And I was never involved in it, but I certainly ran into it. And I certainly saw stuff you'd only think you'd see in movies. People out in the middle of a field at night, you know, in black robes, you know, having sex with a woman up on an altar. I mean, I've seen stuff like that with these 2 eyeballs, okay? And that's what goes on. And if you look at the Catholic Church and all this, it's been, whenever it happened, totally taken over by this. And it's a fact, and it's back, and they use it for control. It's the currency of the realm. And if you read what went on at Penn State, and with the priests and not just the college, they had houses where they took disadvantaged children that had already been raped before, and then they would take them for celebrities to come visit with them and help them with their problem. And the truth was they were just child sex slaves. And that's all come out. And I mean, and that's why I said Mueller covered up for Jeffrey Epstein on Alita Express, hundreds of flights with politicians and people on it, everybody from Kevin Spacey to folks like the monster Harvey Weinstein, with underage boys, girls, you name it. And that's what they do. Bill Clinton, 26 flights we know of. Secret Service says it's over the top bad. And the average person goes, that can't be real. That's because you're not demon-possessed or whatever it is. Whatever's in these people wants to hurt innocence. They are sucking energy. They believe defiling the child, taking their innocence, doing this to them, they give energy, and they're sucking energy. It's a form of vampirism. Now, whether you believe in that or not, when it gets to the British royal family level, this is documented, they kill kids and eat their pituitaries. The Queen of England and her mother get before she died, whole blood transfusions from children. That's in the news. They say, oh, certain families volunteer their kids give the blood for the Queen Mother. And then you can't make it up. They're the House of Dracula. Prince Charles just moved back there half the year. They're the direct bloodline of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. They're not even German royalty. So finishing up, Leo, I appreciate you coming on. You talk about this. We're not just being sensational. And this is what they don't want us talking about on air. This is one of the things I've been told. Not just the pedophilia, but what's below that is the torture and the killing of children. We know they've caught them all over Europe. The judges, the politicians, they have found whole torture dungeons with a bunch of dead babies, toddlers in cages, and it all just gets quieted down. And finally, there's a move in the world against this, and when you see CNN and others make fun of me and say Jones claims there's pedophile rings, and when they're being busted, think about it. They're defending that. These people will do anything, and I'll tell you right now, when you look at these people, don't put anybody on screen. Let people figure it out themselves. When you look at a lot of people, especially CNN or MSNBC, and these people are in the cult, like James Gunn, in the cult, folks. And again, a lot of them are just procurers. A lot of them are just aware of it. A lot of them are around while it's going on. And they celebrate the upper caste, that the vampires, the Draculas, the Renfields celebrate Dracula. And I give the analogy of that because that's what Bram Stoker was giving the allegory of. 5 minutes left. I really appreciate your work, Leo Zagami. We'll put your website up on screen. Tell people about your books. That's leozagami.com. But just, I mean, am I accurate in this? Because you've been in the P2 Lodge. You've been in the secret societies. You've been in it all over there. I've been in the Vatican with you. Obviously, I mean, you've been an insider and you've gone public against it as a Christian. But at the end of the day, is not the world cult a group of spiritual vampires?
Absolutely, spiritual and energetic vampires. We really need, Alex, to support Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, who has made this bold move with this 11-page statement to ask the resignation of Pope Francis. We really need to support him because behind him, of course, there is also Trump, but there's also all those Catholics that are fed up with a religion which is being disfigured, manipulated by Pope Francis, and that is evidently and obviously corrupted by pedophilia left, right, and center, and Pope Francis knew it. Now, it's the first time, Alex, that the Pope got actually cornered, and on the plane coming back from Dublin, he said, well, I have read the accusations of Carlo Maria Vigano. You make your own decisions about it. I will not say anything more. Now, this is a very unusual statement. He was actually admitting that the accusation is true, but then he invited the journalists to make their own decision. Well, everybody here in Italy and around the world is demanding for the Pope's resignation, and this time it's because of a direct involvement with the cover-up of a case of pedophilia. So, I mean, we can't make this up. This is truth. And of course, they wanted us off the major social networks. They wanted us censored before all this was coming out into light. And that's why they want to get Donald J. Trump out of the way, and they want to impeach him with all this rubbish with Mueller and all this investigation. This is the point of it all, is that the Jesuits have always commanded in the United States of America. America. And if now, for example, only in one state, in Minnesota, in St. Louis, I mean, I really can't say more, Alex. I'm just so disappointed that the major media are not now are siding against Carlo Maria Vigano. They are saying that this guy is not serious. Here in Italy, they are saying, of course, they are downplaying the accusation. So we need instead to say Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano is a hero because he's the first.
Let's be clear. They're criticizing in the media bishops and people that say, no, the pedophilia is real. It needs to stop. So that shows you who's on what side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, this is also a case, is the beginning that could become also impossible for the Catholic Church to manage future payments all across the United States of America. Because if they start giving 500 million here, 500 million in another state, and a billion here and a billion there, in the end, the Catholic Church will have to sell or their belongings, everything they have in the United States, and close down the whole thing. I mean, this is the level that we are living.
But they can't help it because these psychic and energetic vampires, they must feed. And what percentage would you say of the hierarchy of the church are actually raping children?
I think that 70%. 70% children. Then, of course, you have a lot of homosexuals that are not necessarily pedophiles. But I think that we are well over 50%.
Sure, they use that as the first level of compromise. That's why I'm not against anybody that's gay or whatever. But then the LGBTP community for pedophile community, and not saying the whole LGBT is like that, but now the ones that attack me when I talk about pedophilia say you're being anti-gay because they're sexualizing kids. I'm like, whoa, this is all going to come out. So, you know, it's amazing to see how if you stand up against pedophilia, you get the LGBT community coming after you and lying about you, and it's very upsetting.
Well, we can see that James Martin, this Jesuit, who is a prominent also defender of the LGBT community, was authorized to talk in Ireland for the World Meeting of Families. So, I mean, this is happening today, Alex.
Oh, absolutely. And these people just procuring children for rape as young as 2 years of age. Thank you, Leo Zagami, leozagami.com. We'll talk to you again soon as this unfolds. Phone calls 3 minutes away. Stay with us.